The Charlotte Hornets are the only franchise that's anywhere near me. The second closest team is the Washington Wizards. I live about 2 hours from Charlotte, so every NBA game that I have seen has been a Hornets game. I have seen this team play 5 times in the last 5 years, so I have actually watched Kemba Walker carry this roster for the last half decade, besides for that year when they had Al Jefferson. I have seen this team seep deeper and deeper into the void of irrelevancy, and all I can say is, thank God Kemba left, thank God Michael Jordan underbid him, and thank God he doesn't have to waste his talent anymore. While I don't think Boston is a good fit, which is something I will talk about in tomorrow's video, and yes, I said tomorrow's video because I'm going to try to start uploading daily. I don't think Boston is a good fit for both sides, however, I know it's a lot fucking better than what was going on in Charlotte. So, with Kemba on his way to Boston, who's going to be Charlotte's replacement? Well, is Terry Rozier, who is someone that I have made very clear in the past that I am not a fan of, but he's young. Well, 24 isn't that young, but youngish. And you could argue he has some potential. I would disagree, but I get where you're coming from. But how much are they paying this dude? Okay, wait. This is normally a time where I would put in some shitty bit where I pretend like I don't know how much he makes and I'm surprised by it. But the thing is, with the Hornets, I can't even pretend to be shocked. You know that pretends to be shocked meme? That was essentially me when I saw they paid this dude $19 million a year. I wish I could have been shocked, but I wasn't, because at this point, these awful moves are not that awful by this team's standards. Dumb moves are unfortunately the expectation of this team. And yet, when I hear people talk about the worst ran teams in the league, seldom do I hear the Hornets get mentioned. Maybe it's because they're so forgettable, but at the same time, I constantly see people talking about free Kemba, so I don't know. So let's talk about the Hornets and try to figure out what the fuck they're doing.
Rebound. Save. Absolutely incredibly with the acrobatic alley-oop.
On top of seeing the Hornets play 5 times in person, my best friend is also a Hornets fan, so I know what it's like to see the pain of this fan base on a consistent basis. What is the source of this pain? The terrible fucking management and ownership. Michael Jordan is as bad an owner as he was good a basketball player, if that makes any sense. His talent as an owner could not be further from his talent as a player. Let's go back to the year that Kemba was drafted. And this is without mentioning that the Hornets/Bobcats, depending on the year, had only made the playoffs 1 time since being brought back to Charlotte until they drafted Kemba. In the 2011 draft, the Charlotte Bobcats selected Kemba Walker with the 9th pick and traded for Bismack Biyombo, who was not good. In the regular season, they won 7 damn games and got the 2nd pick, missing out on generational talent Anthony Davis. So they settled for Michael Kidd-Gilchrist when Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, and Andre Drummond were all on the board. Hell, Harrison Barnes and Terrence Ross would have been better picks. I could pick a random person off of the street and confidently bet $100 that they have a better looking shot form than Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. I mean, good lord, man. Look at this shit. I don't care if it was 2012, hell, I don't care if it was the 60s. Drafting any player with this broke of a jump shot is just flat out unacceptable. A Kemba and Bradley Beal backcourt would have been amazing. In the 2013 draft, they took Cody Zeller, who is a pretty solid center, even though they drafted a center just 2 years ago. I guess props to them for realizing that Bismack was a bust pretty early, and I'm not going to give them shit for this. The 2013 draft class was poorly scouted. The next notable and good player to be drafted was CJ McCollum, who was taken 6 spots later. In the offseason, they signed Al Jefferson, a 20-10 big who could be the focal point of the offense, a very solid pickup, and with that, the Hornets made the playoffs and were immediately dispatched by the Miami Heat. In the 2014 draft, they had a pick from the Detroit Pistons that they used to draft Noah Vonleh over Zach LaVine, TJ Warren, and Yusuf Nurkic. Next year, despite Kemba improving and Mo Williams being a surprisingly good sixth man, the Hornets dropped out of the playoffs. And in this year's draft, they really struck out. They took Frank Kaminsky over Justice Winslow, who is a late bloomer, but looks to be coming around. He just had the best season of his career, averaging 12.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, and he did that on respectable shooting splits while being a really good defender, and he is only 22. The Celtics, by the way, offered the Hornets multiple first-round picks so that they could draft Justice Winslow, but instead they went with Frank Kaminsky, who is a stretch big man who isn't even that good of a shooter. They also passed on Miles Turner and Devin Booker. Miles is one of the best defenders in the league. He led the league in blocks this year, and on offense, he is a very solid shooter for a center, and he is very athletic. And Devin Booker is one of the best young scorers in the NBA. That makes for 3 really good shooting guards to pair with Kemba that they passed on, 4 if you want to count CJ McCollum, and 2 really good centers with Miles Turner and Yusuf Nurkic. In the offseason, the Hornets traded Noah Vonleh for Nicholas Batum, which was a really good trade. They got a 3-and-D wing who is also a fantastic glue guy and a really good playmaker for his position. So going into that season, the Hornets were great. Kemba averaged a career high in points on career best efficiency, and Nick Batum was a valued addition. Marvin Williams was also a great 3-and-D power forward, Jeremy Lamb was really solid, and Jeremy Lin was a solid 6th man. This Hornets team won 48 games, but lost to the Miami Heat in 7 games in one of the last sightings of playoff Dwayne Wade that we ever got. The 2016 draft was pretty irrelevant, but the 2016 offseason is when the Hornets stepped on their dick. The Hornets, now infamously, gave Nicholas Batum a 5-year, $120 million contract, a contract that now haunts them to this day. They paid Nick Batum an average of $24 million a year. Good lord. And since then, I guess Batum took his money and ran, because after averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists on some semi-respectable shooting splits, in the past 2 years, his averages have dropped down to 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. Just a big ol' yikes. In the 2017 draft, the Hornets took Malik Monk over Luke Kennard and Donovan Mitchell. And in the following draft, they traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Miles Bridges. Not a bad move. I think Miles is going to be very solid. However, I do think Shai will be a little bit better, but it's not something to really be mad at. And this year, after Kemba Walker had the best year of his career, averaging 25.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 6 assists on good shooting splits, the Hornets drafted PJ Washington, who I don't know a whole lot about. I probably would have taken Sekou Doumbouya just purely for potential, but I do not know enough right now to criticize that. But the big move, lowballing Kemba and then signing and trading him to the Boston Celtics for Terry Rozier. And then signing Rozier to nearly $20 million a year. Good lord, man. Just come on. Michael Jordan might just be a top 3 worst owner in the NBA. I mean, I have to say top 3 because Robert Sarver and James Dolan are infinitely worse, which has said a lot about them. And the Hornets are easily one of the worst ran franchises in the NBA. Giving $19 million a year to Terry Rozier is just flat out unacceptable. I have expressed my distaste for Terry Rozier for a good while now, which the first time I did it, I was shocked to find out that the man actually has some stands. But Terry Rozier just isn't good. As I said earlier, you could argue that he has some potential, though I would disagree. But if you feel that way, which is fine if you do, that potential is not worth $19 million a year. Hell, it's not even worth 10. Rozier has never, and yes, I am being serious here, Rozier has never in his career shot above 40% from the field. That is straight up pathetic. And he only averaged 10 plus points once. You just gave $19 million a year for 3 years to a player who last season averaged 9 points, 3 assists, and 4 rebounds, shooting 39% from the field and 35% from 3. I said in the intro that I wasn't that shocked by this dumb of a move, and unfortunately that was true. But let's bring this back to Kemba Walker. I have 2 key points with him. One, if you were not going to give Kemba Walker max money, then why did you not trade him at the deadline? I am by no means the first person to bring up this point, but seriously, why? You could have moved Kemba for some young player and a pick or two, and then signed Rozier this offseason for hopefully a little bit less than $19 million. Let's look at some of the teams rumored to be interested in Kemba in the past. The Mavericks. Let's just say at the deadline the move for him is Jalen Brunson and a protected first-round pick or two. You probably could have gotten Luke Kennard, Stanley Johnson, and a first from Detroit, Dante Exum, Grayson Allen, and a first from the Jazz. You could have easily gotten young players and picks for Kemba, but instead he walks so that you can pay Terry Rozier $19 million a year. My second point would be breaking down the history of this team, writing this script and all that. Their key mistake was, as much as I like Kemba, choosing to build around him in the first place. Building around a dude that cannot be the best player on a championship team. They tried to be good after like 3 seasons with Kemba, and it led them to the point of too good to get a high lotto pick, and too bad to get high in the playoffs, and as a result, Kemba wasted years of his career trying to be the best player on a bad team when he was built to be a great second option. The relationship between Kemba and the Hornets ended up being a negative for both sides. Kemba prevented the Hornets from escaping mediocrity, and the Hornets didn't allow Kemba to compete for multiple years. They had one high lottery pick that could have prevented this all, and they whiffed on that. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.